earlier today took the podium, and he talked a little bit about the idea that football is now number one in the conference.
As I've stated since my first day as ACC commissioner, football must be number one priority for us, for all of us. Our schools, the league, ACC network, our partners, coaches, we've been collaborating for months to ensure that ACC football has the mindset of 24/7, 365, and we're working together to further elevate football in the ACC.
That's kind of something there, Swan. When you think about it, we think of the ACC as traditionally a basketball conference, but Commissioner Phillips laying it out there in basically his first ACC kickoff address here that football is going to be the way they want things to go in the ACC.
Yeah, look, I think that for many years before the league expanded, Florida State carried the back of this conference, and when Miami came into the league, I think the forethought of having a Coastal Division and an Atlantic Division was to have those two teams constantly battling in the championship game. But as we all know, Miami's only made one appearance since they've been in the league, what feels like now nearly 20 years. And, I just look at that and think, man, what could have been had the Hurricanes been who they once were, right?
Right.
But now Clemson's ascended, Rob, to the top of that throne. And the Coastal Division, the last time we were here 2 years ago, it was all about who was going to win the Coastal. Could they go, full circle with Duke, Georgia Tech, Miami, North Carolina, Pitt, Virginia Tech, all winning that thing in consecutive seasons, and it happened. And then what do you know? We have a COVID year, and Notre Dame joins the league, and boom goes the dynamite. The Fighting Irish win it. And so it's still Clemson in the Atlantic, and who else is going to show up? But this league, because of the success that Clemson's had, is arguably as high as it's ever been, even when Florida State was here. You know what I'm saying? I think Clemson's footprint on college football, in the college football playoff more specifically, has really endeared not only fans in this league to football, but the nation to recognize that, well, Clemson's going to be there at the end, and they represent the ACC.
Yeah, and I tell you what, though, today the focus has been on the Coastal. I've got some more comments here from Commissioner Phillips. Let's play this one here for you. This one.
As a conference, our priority remains the health and safety of our student athletes, coaches, administrators, and campuses. As it relates to vaccines and any policies or mandates, those decisions will remain at the discretion of each member institution.
So what he's talking about there is vaccines, Lawton. And that was a big thing, of course. Commissioner Sankey came out earlier this week at SEC Media Days and said, we're not going to have we're going to have basically if it comes down to it, we may have to forfeit some games. And of course, Commissioner Phillips today saying, hey, the vaccine is important. And, he did say one other thing here, and I wanted to play that if I've got it. What did I do with my other clip here? Anyway, the big thing with that, though, is that the vaccines is something that COVID's still kind of hanging over everyone as we roll along here to start football season.
So let's put it this way. Like, everybody's got a choice. You want to get the vaccine, you don't want to get the vaccine. I'm vaccinated. I don't know if you are or not. It's your choice, right?
Yeah.
But if you're a college football player at this time and you saw what happened in North Carolina State in the College World Series, I made this argument the other day, or this connection, and you tell me if I'm wrong, Rob. Like, on the offensive line, every single player wears knee braces.
Right.
And they don't wear knee braces because they all have ACL injuries. They wear knee braces to prevent ACL injuries.
Exactly.
Rob, if ACL injuries were contagious, guess what? Quarterbacks, running backs, wideouts, everybody on the team would wear knee braces. But ACL tears aren't contagious, and they tend to happen right there in the trenches. COVID-19 for these college football players, to me, is no different. Now, there might be religious reasons that a kid doesn't want to get vaccinated. I completely respect that fact. But if you're a player on the team right now, if you're DJ Uiagalelei at Clemson and you don't get vaccinated, if you're Derek King at Miami and you don't get vaccinated, and you're going into the biggest game of the season, and you get COVID-19, Delta variant, whatever variant. I don't care if it's the American Airlines variant. You get whatever variant of COVID-19 is out there, Rob. And, well, guess what? It's on you. And I'll say this, too. When we've got Nick Saban talking about Bryce Young maybe making $1 million a year playing quarterback for Alabama. Yeah, I would say that if he's out for COVID-19 and he didn't get his vaccination, it's hard for that that guy from Oologah, Alabama, who's working his 9 to 5 at the Coke machine factory, paying his hard-earned money to go see Alabama play and have them lose a game because Bryce Young didn't get vaccinated and he's making $1 million a year. You tell me. I mean, I'm just saying, like, at some point, these players have to really consider it. And that's what Dabo Swinney talked about. The players have to understand that, it might not be 100% preventable in any way, shape, or form, but at least we have something. We didn't have anything this time last year. That's why we couldn't get put up here at the Palatial Westin Hotel in Charlotte.
I hear you on that. More comments from Coach Phillips. Excuse me. Why am I saying Coach Phillips? Commissioner Phillips. He's the commissioner of the whole league, Rob. Try to get it right. More on COVID-19.
Personally, I believe that vaccinations are critical to the protection of all and helping to achieve the goal of eliminating the COVID-19 virus and its variants. But I also deeply respect that getting vaccinated
it's a personal choice is basically what it boils down to. So you seem to be thinking along the lines of Commissioner Phillips. Once he moves on, you could be Commissioner Swan.
Well, listen, it's absolutely a personal choice.
Right.
It's a personal choice for those offensive linemen, I'm sure, to put on a knee brace, but they put on the knee brace.
Right.
And again, for our listeners, I'm not telling you, whoever, that you have to go. But, man, if you're a college football player, given the goals that you have, if your goal at work was, if your job offered you $10,000 a year to not miss a day and you didn't want to get vaccinated, you might consider it.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? Like, there's a big prize at the end for these college football players if they get vaccinated potentially.
Well, but the other end of it too is that what happens if you are the player that doesn't get vaccinated and you end up bringing something back to your team and it could end up costing you a spot in the in your division. You don't want that either. I mean, it really is a fine line to go there. But I honestly think, the SIAC yesterday, they ruled that if you're going to play football there, football players, cheerleaders, coaches, the football staff, you have to be vaccinated. That's kind of an iron thumb kind of way of looking at it, but that's the way they're doing it. So there may be some logic to that, but I live in the land of personal freedom, and it's interesting though the way that certain conferences are looking at it, and of course with what the SEC said earlier this week that you may end up forfeiting games. So.
Well, there's a lot of money to be lost, and we know that from what took place last year. There's a lot of money for these conferences, these schools, these athletic departments, a lot of revenue, and that revenue is directly tied to other sports on the campuses too. So, it's so tough. I'm with you, but I think that there is great encouragement from the coaches across the country. If you listen to what all of the major coaches are saying, they would love their guys to get vaccinated. And Dabo Swinney said something good yesterday at Clemson's media day. He said, I asked my doctor. I asked the doctor that I trust.
Right.
And he said multiple doctors. And not one of the doctors that I trust with my health and wellness said, don't get it. They all said, get it. So there's also that, for anybody that's skeptical about it, whether it's a football player or a listener or whoever, talk to a trusted doctor. I think we all have one, whether it's your kid's pediatrician or whether it's your general, practitioner or whatever you call. I don't know the fancy doctor lingo, Rob. I know I spent 7 years in college, but I'm not one. But yeah, I think that, that's the other thing for people is you can't trust everything you read on Facebook, Twitter, or Twitch or wherever. Go talk to your doctor. See what they say.
Yeah, I'm with you on that. And the wife takes me to the vet. So that's where I get my information. I got my COVID vaccine along with my vaccine for parvo.
My heartworms.
Yeah, for my heartworms and my parvo, I got my COVID vaccine. Anyway, there is a lot of things we're going to talk about today. We just interviewed Coach Mark Richt. I still call him Coach Mark Richt because
He's always coach.
He's a commentator, Mark Richt now. Basically,
no, you don't lose the tag.
I don't think so. And very interesting interview we did with him. We will we'll have that interview up shortly. I also interviewed the voice of the Clemson Tigers earlier today, Mr. Don Munson.
Dandy Don Munson.
And who else did I get? Mr. Scott Brookridge from the Cotton Bowl Classic, telling us the wonderful things about the Cotton Bowl. We'll talk with him for a moment. So we'll get some of that heading your way here shortly. And we do have a player from Duke joining us here at 3:50. I have to check my notes. But the young man is from Lawton. And Lawton's going to wake up when he hears this because Lawton is Mr. Small Town, South Carolina. He's from McCormick. You know where McCormick is,
Absolutely,
right?
man. Up 28 bypass on the way to Clemson, yeah.
There you go. So we'll talk with him in just a little bit. That's at about 3:50 today. You can reach out to the show on Twitter today at Rob Sounds Good, and, of course, at Clemson Sports. The stream is up and running today. And it's kind of cool because you never know who's going to walk by. Earlier today, Coach Mac Brown walked by and was sitting at the booth next to us and was sporting some really cool sneakers, man. And very proud of them too, right?
Well, look, man, they're the Jordan-branded school. I've always thought Clemson should push that direction as well. Michigan is a Jordan brand, and you see the TikToks and everything that Coach Mac Brown's doing to kind of endear himself to the younger generation. A lot of people, thought that maybe his coaching career was done when he went into the analyst business with ABC. But clearly what he's got going on at North Carolina, they might be the biggest threat to get to the ACC championship game to take on Clemson. But they have made him younger and hipper. And they got him rocking the Michael Jordan sneakers, probably with the patent leather. I haven't seen them yet, but
I got a picture of them. They are
the kids
solid.
Appreciate that. Yeah,
they do, and the way that he can relate. But he was doing a breakout session with some folks a little bit ago, and someone asked him about his championship ring, and he just took it off and threw it into the crowd. Seriously. Wrap your head around that for a second. Is his Texas championship ring? Yeah, here. He just throws it into the crowd. I mean, that's interesting to say the least.
Well, when he came back into the league, I remember seeing him just right over there for the first time as a coach back in the conference. After spending so many years there in the 90s at North Carolina, and it felt right. And I think that he gave this league not only a national championship winning head coach for what he did at Texas back in 2005, but he brought some prominence back to a program whose fan base really wants it. They want to compete and they want to be in the ACC championship game like Larry Fedora had him a couple of years ago. And so with a name like Mac Brown, you've got panache out on the recruiting trail. You've got the Jordan brand. There are a lot of positives for that program.
He turned 70 this year, Lawton. I mean, I know that
you saying 70-year-olds can't rock J's?
I'm not saying that. I'm just saying that the longevity of the program, you have to think for a minute. 70 years old, I believe it's in good hands now, but later on, that's kind of tough.
Well, I think he's younger than Nick Saban, right at the same age. They're
Yeah, but Nick Saban's a devil. I mean, the guy's running around. He had like total hip replacement and was running around like 3 days later. So there's got to be something going on there with Nick Saban. But
so your contention is that he's not going to be around much longer.
Well, I think when we come to this 5 years from now, I don't think Mac Brown's going to be here as a North Carolina coach.
I think it's debatable. I think it's debatable. How long did Bobby Bowden retired at like 81?
Yeah. I guess it depends on how he does on the recruiting trail and everything else. But that's something you got to think about too. If you're a young man, are you going to go somewhere where a coach turns 70? There's an opportunity that he may not be there when you finish your college career.
Well, that was always the threat for Steve Spurrier at South Carolina, and ended up being part of the reason that he left after boatloads of success, I think.
Yeah, so interesting stuff there. And, of course, today the focus is on the Coastal. We will have tomorrow. I tell you what, brother, we have got a jam-packed day of interviews tomorrow, including DJ Uyunglele, and I've got
we got Skalski, Bockhurst, all the Clemson guys.
Yeah, I mean, just a ton of guys.
Dino Babers, your boy. I brought my Ray-Bans for him. You think he'll wear them this year?
He might.
He wouldn't do it.
Of course,
wouldn't do it 2 years ago.
Coach Halfley from Boston College, their quarterback Jerkovich is going to join us as well. So jam-packed tomorrow. It's going to be one thing right after another, including I've got more special guests too. Andrew Jones from Tar Heel Illustrated came on and talked about the effect that Mac Brown has had on that program. Lots and lots of things that we will be looking at as we roll along here at ACC Kickoff, especially with the Atlantic teams coming in tomorrow. When we come back, we take a quick break. I've got to ask you about the social media set right now where North Carolina fans are getting a little chatty. Getting a little bit chatty about, hey, maybe they can take down Clemson. We'll talk about that and more when we come back. This is The Rundown live from the ACC Kickoff in Charlotte.
Find the employees you need to get your business moving. Sign up with iHeart Ad Builder and create a custom radio ad to reach job seekers listening to stations just like this one. Get started today at iHeartAdBuilder.com.
Are pet hair, dust, and allergies getting the best of you? Call the cleaning experts at Zero Res Carpet and Air Duct Cleaning and breathe easier. With over 1,000 Google reviews, they're the most trusted cleaners in town. Now get $30 off an air duct cleaning, plus 15% off lifetime filters and purifiers. Schedule online at ZeroResColumbia.com.
We all hear the radio ads about the IRS. They tell you to be afraid, to be scared, and they try to frighten you into calling. I'm not here to do that. Tax Relief Advocates is different. TRA is here to tell you that if you owe money to the IRS, whether it's $5,000, $50,000, or $500,000, we have a solution. It doesn't matter if you're sitting in your car, at work, or with your kids. No matter where you are, call now. 800-575-2073. Don't lose hope. TRA can eliminate or reduce what you owe to the IRS. There is zero risk to you. If we can't reduce your tax debt, then you pay nothing. Our passion is taxes and helping individuals fix their IRS problems. We have a 5-star rating on Google and Yelp and an A+ with the Better Business Bureau. Tax Relief Advocates, real solutions for real people. You don't need to be afraid of the IRS any longer. End your tax nightmare today and call 800-575-2073. That's 800-575-2073. Or you can visit us online at tra.com.
In 2007, Marine First Lieutenant Travis Manion was killed in Iraq after saving his wounded teammates. Travis's legacy lives on through the 5 words he spoke before leaving for his final deployment. If not me, then who? Words that today fuel the spirit of Travis Manion Foundation. Words that live in veterans, families of the fallen, and inspired civilians who go out of their way to find a way, who help others with the help of others, who bounce back after each setback, who make good on good intentions. Through Travis Manion Foundation, if not me, then who, are words that can live in you too. Show the world what your character is made of, because character is invisible until it's not. Find out how you can strengthen the character of your community alongside empowered veterans, families of the fallen, and inspired civilians at travismanion.org. That's travismanion.org.
Welcome back to The Rundown. Follow Rob on Twitter at RobSoundsGood.
And welcome back to the Rundown, live in Charlotte. Yeah. My buddy Lawton Swan joining us here. We appreciate him. And, of course, he will be here from 4 to 6. He's looking at like I'm paying him by the minute here. I mean, he is a hardcore Swanee there. Anyway, so shout out to the folks watching on the Facebook page for Fox Sports Radio and, of course, our YouTube channel over there with our buddy Carolina Jackpot helping us out with that. So
Carolina Jackpot.
It's my buddy, Carolina Jackpot.
Triple sevens, baby. I like it.
Gotta love the jackpot. Anyway, North Carolina fans on Twitter and the social media world, they think they've got a chance to bridge the gap and knock Clemson off. Some healthy optimism for the Tar Heels fans there, Swanee.
Well, here's the thing about that conversation. And look, is it feasible, possible? Sure, absolutely. There's a lot of pressure on Clemson, and there's more pressure on Clemson probably mounting each and every season just because of what we talked about out of the gates here. I mean, they are going to be, you've got media members from Louisville and Boston College all over the country, and when the votes come out, it's going to be Clemson by a landslide. I don't know if anybody else will get a vote to be the conference champion, but if they do, and if it is North Carolina as a vote to be the conference champion, Rob, it'll be because that media member, whomever it is, knows that it only takes one game. There is going to be a team from this division that's talking today, the Coastal, playing in Charlotte in December against the team from the Atlantic, most likely Clemson. All they got to do is play one great game.
Yeah, and I think that. It sounds like you've gone to the Dabo Sweeney School of Motivation there. It just takes one team, one day to beat you. You can look at some of the losses Clemson's had, and, they were heavy favorites in a lot of those losses in the regular season as far as conference losses. Look back at the Syracuse loss on the road. They were 21-point favorites there. If I remember correctly, the Pittsburgh game at home a couple years ago, they were big favorites in that game too. So, yeah, you just got to have that one day.
In fairness, they've been favored pretty big in almost every game.
Yeah, well, and that's true too. But,
honestly.
Yeah, that's kind of the way it is. So, Jimmy online says, can you say NC State at home? That's funny.
For the matchup that's going to knock off Clemson, NC State?
Yeah.
Hosting the Tigers?
Yeah.
I mean, look, I think if you said to me that you said that was Jimmy.
Yeah, Jimmy.
I think that there's a possibility that the toughest matchup Clemson might face outside of Georgia this year might be Pitt. Might be Pitt on the road. Pat Narduzzi's a heck of a coach.
Yeah.
Typically have a good defense. He's a schemer. I mean, I don't mean that in a bad way. I mean that in a good way. Like, he's going to find whatever deficiencies you have, and he's going to figure out how to attack them. Don't tell Dabo Sweeney this. Narduzzi, outside of David Cutcliffe, might be the smartest coach in the league. I mean, he is a smart coach, but Clemson's just got horses, and I don't doubt that Dave Duran and North Carolina State could win, but I would doubt it. The other thing that could impact any game for Clemson on the road this year is what times it played. If you catch them at noon, what did Clubber Lang say to Rocky? Dead meat. Yeah, you're dead meat. If you get them in a night game in Raleigh, there's some electricity in that venue. I've been to Carter Finley a time or 20.
Well, I mean, but let's be honest though, I think it's safe to say that Clemson's probably a double-digit favorite against every team in the conference, with maybe the exception of North Carolina. I mean, if we were just looking at it from a Las Vegas perspective, I think that's not a very far out statement.
No,
really not.
No, and they may be. I don't have the current lines in front of me of all those games, but they may be a double-digit favorite over every team in the league. I mean, at full go for sure.
But, I mean, is the gap getting bigger with Clemson, or are we seeing some teams that could possibly kind of bridge that canyon a little bit?
I think you'd like to believe that North Carolina and Miami could, but the bad part for everybody else is Clemson doesn't play either of them across the way this year. and only one of those two teams would be able to face Clemson at some point in a potential ACC championship. You know what I mean? And so, like, listen, most people can't believe I'm a proponent for expansion of the college football playoff. But I think what you see, the differential at Clemson, the differential at Alabama, the differential at Ohio State from the Big Ten, et cetera, comes down to what the college football playoff does for the exposure for those teams.
Yeah, some comments from the folks online. Blake says we'll find out about NC State week 2 when they travel to Starkville to play, obviously, Mississippi State. That's, I love when we have matchups between the ACC and the SEC like that. And I think it's just not really a measuring stick, but it kind of gives you an idea of who's real and who's not.
Well, that's the advantage that I think the SEC's gotten right now that other leagues don't have, is that there's this perception, whether fair or not, and maybe it's real, maybe it isn't, that league is just better than everybody else.
Right.
And that may be the case. But the only way you ever measure that outside of reading a Phil Steele magazine or something is with games on the field. And that's the one problem with college football, and part of the reason maybe expansion of the playoff would be healthy is because you don't get but a handful of cross-conference play anywhere. I mean, it just 90% of your games are played against conference opponents. So it's, to me, that makes it very difficult to say definitively that teams X, Y, and Z from conference whatever are better than everybody in the Eastern Division of the SEC or the Atlantic Division of the ACC. I just think that because we don't play enough cross-conference games, it's hard to measure it. But
the idea of conference superiority is silly to me. I mean, I with what you were just talking about, I don't understand. You'll have a set group of people that they will get upset with you. Well, my X conference here is just so much better. And I think when someone brings up my conference is better, that to me just screams like it's like a complex to kind of hide the, I guess the lower end programs that may finish at 6-6, but hey, we finished 6-6, but our conference is so much tougher than yours. I've never bought that. You should judge teams by the team that they are, not by the conference that they're in. It just doesn't make sense to me.
No, I'm with you. I think it's not who you play, it's how you play.
Exactly.
And Clemson, when they've had opportunities, has played really well. Now, they've gone backwards the past 3 seasons. I mean, they won the championship, they got beaten in the championship, they got beaten in the semifinal. So, stair-stepping that, they're heading the wrong way on that front. But when you're in it,
6 straight CFP
when you're in it,
sir.
When you're in it, means you're a heck of a football team.
Yeah. So we'll have some coverage tomorrow of Clemson because tomorrow is the teams from the Atlantic today. But of course, teams from the Coastal today. Jimmy says Arkansas and Texas on September the 11th in Fayetteville. Man, looking forward to that too. That's going to be some good stuff. All right, man, we got to take a quick break. When we will have more for you when we come back. This is The Rundown on Fox Sports Radio 1400. All right, what's up, y'all? Yeah. So I was trying to make it where you guys didn't have to hear commercials. I was trying to look out for you guys. As you can see right behind me, the big ACC set. Yeah. So anyway, it's some good stuff. Anyway, we just had Mark Richt on with us. Man, he's dealing with Parkinson's and stuff now, but my goodness, man, how can you not like Mark Richt? I mean, he still seems just like a leader. I mean, just a great guy, man. So good stuff there. Let me make sure that I don't want you guys having to hear commercials. So I thought I would talk to you a minute here on my iPhone. So there you go with that. Let me make sure. Anyway. Yeah, so I can see your comments over here. So if you have comments you want to get about. I know, right? I went and got a black shirt. Fireball with the comment of the day. Have you called DJ the ukulele yet? That's tomorrow. Let me give you guys a little view of the room here. Let's see here. There's all the stuff that's there. There's the Swan. There's Tyler.
What up?
There.
How much longer we got?
Yeah. So trying
Tyler
to keep up with everything. Yeah, we'll have Tyler on in a moment. We got about a minute and a half before we come back. Anyway, I've got the picture of. Let me see if I can. Can I share? I don't know if I can share my stuff here, but we'll see. Anyway, Justin says roll Tide. Yeah, appreciate Justin. Hey, you guys follow Lawton on Twitter, man. Look at this mess. Hold on. You know what? Swan didn't even get me a cookie. Look at this. Look at this. Home of the ACC, an actual cookie there. Didn't give me a cookie. Doesn't care about me. That's kind of the way it works. There we go. All right. Let's see here. Yeah, the ACC 0 in bowl games. We get it. Yep. I've got about 15 seconds here, Swan. Okay. Yeah. See, that's... Hold on. All right, coming back. All right, Swan, are you ready? Go. And welcome back to the rundown here on Fox Sports Radio 1400. Of course, around the world on the iHeartRadio app. I'm Rob Sanders, and of course, we have a guest coming up at 3. I thought he was at 3:50 today.
He's ready.
But he's ready to go? 3:40.
3:40.
Okay. Yeah. All right. Go ahead and have a seat for me. Swanee, you want to introduce this gentleman to us here as we get squared away? And as we learn to adapt here for a moment. So bear with me there for a minute, folks, and we'll get you squared away as you sit down with us. As we get our player here ready to go, of course. Yeah, I'm sorry. Of course, joining us here on the rundown from Duke as Duke makes their way into ACC kickoff. We appreciate you making some time for us today.
Yes, sir,
and I tell you what, man, it's great to have you with us. Mateo Durant joining us from Duke. Thank you for joining us here on the show today, and look forward to a good season for you guys. I wanted to ask you about some of the stuff that you dealt with last year for COVID. What did your team take away from that as far as making adjustments and working as a team and dealing with COVID-19 and being together?
I feel like overall we learned to adjust on the fly because you never know if you was actually going to have a game that Saturday. And it also helped us build a mutual respect upon each other because during the season, it was no Saturdays where our team itself had COVID or like had to cancel games. So this showed like the respect that we have for each other and how much that we actually wanted to play this year.
Well, and let me ask you this. Is there something that you learned as far as some of the habits that you changed during the pandemic that you're going to carry over into this season?
It's more about just being resilient. You never know what's going to happen. So it's all about how you react to a situation. So the pandemic has allowed us to learn a lot about ourselves overall.
How does it feel playing for a legendary coach and Coach Cutcliffe?
Oh, it's great. Ever since recruiting, Coach Cut's always been the same person. That's one thing I love about him. He's never going to flip. He's always consistent. And rather than just a coach, he's a great mentor to us also because we can come to him about football stuff or anything that's off the field, and he's always there for us.
Now, the adage is that Coach Cutcliffe is an older coach, but you're telling me that if you wanted to stop by his office, you could chat with him about anything?
About anything. Just text him and come up. He might be an older coach, but he's not short on energy at all.
Now, obviously the vibe there with Coach Cutcliffe is that he's an offensive coach, but what does he do on the defensive side of the ball?
I think Coach Cutts is a great overseer of everything, all together. So he allows his coaches to actually coach.
Now, you're from South Carolina, right? Was it
Plum Branch, South Carolina?
Yeah,
McCormick County.
McCormick County. So, how was your recruiting out of South Carolina, and why did you choose to leave the state?
It was really good in South Carolina. Got a lot of interest, but I just feel like overall, Duke was the place for me to be. Built a great relationship and bond with the coaches, and that's really what took it. With the campus, enjoyed campus, went on like 3 or 4 visits there, and at the end of that, I just felt like Duke was the best place for me, and I'm glad I made this decision.
Made the decision going to Duke. Do you have the adage on the outside is that Duke is a basketball school, but I mean, you guys are doing a lot on the football field. Are you guys kind of turning the tide just a little bit?
I just feel like all around Duke is a sports school. Had really good basketball, really good baseball, softball, track, and all those other sports. So I just feel like all together as a school, Duke can compete in all sports at a top tier level.
All right. Well, tell us a little bit about the defense this year at Duke. I mean, what's the mentality you guys are going to have?
Defense?
Defense, yeah.
Defense is going to be really good. A lot of players flying around to the ball, a lot of experience coming back on the back end, and really, really good young talent on the front end, on the D line and stuff like that. We have one of the best linebackers in the ACC or the country, honestly, with Shaka Hayward being at the middle of the helm of all that. So we're just fortunate to be able to, have a lot of talent coming back on the defensive side.
All right. So tell us about some ways you improved your game, especially heading into fall camp.
I think the most important thing for me was conditioning and my ability to pass block. So I want to be able to protect Gunner as well as the offensive line does because he's the most important piece of our offense.
Yeah, and you mentioned the protection end of it. Is that something that how do you work up to that? Is that more time in the weight room? Is that more time just general conditioning, or you have drills you work for that?
In regards of pass blocking, it's at the end of the day, a lot of footballers want to. If you want to do it, you'll be able to do it. But also it comes along with that technique and then the great posture that you have to have, and also being in the weight room, being able to take on those 220, 230-pound linebackers.
Well, I mean, but and that was going to be my next thing. I mean, you're checking in at what's your weight, if you don't mind my asking?
205.
So, yeah, but you've got a guy that's barreling down on you at 230, and you got to make that block. I mean, that's a big deal, right?
A lot of it comes with body posture. If they come in high and I get up under them, they're stonewalled. So a lot of it is just, your ability to put your body in the perfect position to be able to make that block.
I tell you what, I admire guys that get out there and they want to take on some of these guys, especially when they're coming at you like that. And
you have no choice.
Yeah, I mean, that guy outweighs me by about 30 pounds, but I got to make that block.
That's what I'm saying. That's being selfless on your team and being a really big team guy. So, I'm all about winning, and I do whatever I have to do to help my team win.
Last year, of course, you had Chase Bryce at quarterback, and of course, he transferred out. What's the vibe in the quarterback room this year? You've been working with them a little bit.
Yeah. Gunner is one of my best friends. We always hang out outside the field, on the field. We're always having fun. But I feel like this is a good vibe overall. Me and Chase were really close. Him coming to Duke for that 1 year, probably me and him became like the closest of friend and best of friend, being able to talk to each other about anything. So, everything is a learning experience, and I'm glad I was able to have that experience with you.
What's the one thing that you've learned from Coach Cutcliffe that you'll take when you leave Duke and use it for the rest of your life? Because, I've got stuff that I've learned from other people, but has he given you a building block that you'll use for later on?
Just effort in everything you do. Me and Coach Cut always, talk to each other about me giving more and more effort and not settling for anything. And we have one rule that do the man's rule: be what you're supposed to be doing, what you're supposed to be doing as well as you could possibly do it. And that's something that we all live by.
Mateo Durant joining us here on the rundown, of course, plays for Duke, and we appreciate him taking some time out. You guys have your rivalry with North Carolina. Who else do you get up for as far as, man, I'm jacked to play these guys when we go out there and play?
I think every game we're always excited to go out and compete. People say not one game is like the same as the other, but and us, we just want to go out and play. Every game we have to get up for, because if you're playing you're like sliding one opponent and you don't get up for that game, that'll be the game that you lose. So you don't want to treat either game like it's minuscule or meaningless.
Mateo Bryant joining us here on the rundown, and I hope you have a great season, sir.
Yes,
a healthy season, because that's very important. We appreciate you taking some time out to talk with us here on the rundown.
Yes,
Thank
sir.
you so
Thank
much,
you.
man.
Thank you.
All right, Mateo Bryant from Duke.
Yes, sir.
Appreciate it.
Have a great day.
Thank you so much. Talking a little bit about some pass blocking, and he got his cookie, man. The cookies are important. So we appreciate Mateo joining us here on the rundown this afternoon here on Fox Sports Radio 1400. We're going to take a quick break. When we come back, we'll wrap up this edition of the rundown. So a break here, and then we've got some interviews we'll play for you in a moment here on Fox Sports Radio 1400. All right, so Bobby Bowden is not dead. Okay, yeah. Thank you for that, guys.
I'm going to go do Georgia Tech.
Okay, buddy. Tyler Crowder helping us out today. You like that, Rob, too? That way I can actually talk to you guys. Yeah. See, that's one of the tough parts of doing these, is that he was supposed to come at 3:50 today, but it kind of threw me off a little bit, but it's fine. It's fine. We'll adapt. We will adapt. Not a big deal. Let me see here. I'm having to run the radio station and the stream and everything else. It's all right there. By the way, tonight, Carolina Jackpot will be doing the show with me, and we'll be doing our thing here. 9:30, I think. Yeah, we'll figure that out. So make sure you get in line tonight. We'll talk with Jackpot as he's on vacation. Shout out to him with the stuff with the apple beer. I don't know if I can get into that or not, but he's making it look really good. So gotta love Jackpot. One of the coolest people on the planet. As my buddy Swan over there, I don't know what he's doing. Oh, okay. Yeah. No, we got about 90 seconds there, Swan, I think. Oh no. I got about 40 seconds. Anyway, I hope you guys are enjoying the show. Yeah, we'll have Dabo Sweeney tomorrow. It's going to be funny. It's good stuff. I know, right? Hilarious. All right, let's see here. And welcome back to ACC Kickoff. We appreciate everyone checking us out today as we're here at ACC Kickoff in Charlotte. Lawton Swan, of course, sitting back down. Lawton's a man of the people. He's out. He wants to be mayor eventually.
Shaking
We
hands.
talked about that. Shaking hands, kissing babies, not shaking babies and kissing hands. No. He's got that set up and good to go. So good stuff there. As Lawton Swan joins us here from Clemson Sports Talk, we appreciate him making the trip up today and rescuing me, getting me a cable that I needed.
So what did Mr. Durant have to say about playing for Coach Cut? I didn't get to hear it. It's loud in here. Dude.
It is very loud in here. So there you go with that. Anyway, he talked about Coach Cutcliffe being a legend, and he could go to Coach Cutcliffe with anything, and so good stuff there, man.
I told Narduzzi I called him the smartest guy in the room.
Mm-hmm.
I told Pat Narduzzi I called him the smartest guy in the room earlier.
So, folks asking about that are watching on the stream, wanting to know who is behind us here. That is the set for the ACC network. So the ACC network doing their live coverage, and there you go. That's who's
so technically
here on the stream.
We're on their TV too. So
yeah.
If you want to see the back of us right now, go watch the ACC network.
They're enjoying watching the back of the set over here now. Is the vibe I'm getting from the folks in the chat room. So there you go with that. They're more interested in that than talking with us. So anyway, as we're live here on Radio Row, appreciate my buddy Gary Mills helping us out in Columbia. Really, really great guy, doing some cool stuff for us as well. Some folks online. Justin says Clemson's going 11-1.
Yo, I got you a cookie, by the way. I went and got you one. Yeah,
Look at that.
Look at that.
Bless your heart.
Mayor. I'm going for mayor. My
mayor.
constituent says he didn't get a cookie.
Well,
I
there
get
you
him
go.
a
He
cookie.
went and got me a cookie. Anyway, I'm looking forward to some of the interviews and stuff that we have that we're going to play for you. The interview with Coach Richt, I kind of got a little bit of a lump in my throat when he started talking about dealing with Parkinson's and everything else. But he sat down and had a great football talk with us, and then it was like, man, he's trying to save our souls. I mean, Coach Richt is a very special coach still.
Look, you don't get to have this level of success that he had at Georgia if you're not genuine. And I think that if you go back and think about his time at Miami and then getting to this point, I just think that his story is so good, and he came so close in Athens. And now I would say that, I guess for all of us in a lot of respects, you get to kind of treasure him in a different way, which is good. And I mentioned to him a few years ago, Rob, that when we came here, there was a conflict and we had to switch up and couldn't interview him. And I went over there and shook hands with him and said, Coach, look, we're not going to be able to get you on. I appreciate you taking time to join us. And he was genuine, and he's like, hey, man, don't worry. But, and you still got that today. I mean, when you ask him, and not to give away too much of the interview, but you ask him about, how did he kind of replace the competitiveness and things of that nature that he's lost from not being in sports. And he talked about, the time with his grandkids and things like that. Like, I mean, that's real. And you could feel it. In that interview, when we run that, I guess tomorrow we're going to try to run that interview for people. Dude, that interview with Mark Richt, top of the mark. I mean, sharp.
Kind of gives you a little bit of the lump in the throat type thing is the way that I look at it. But there's that. Also, joining us at 4:30 today, Lawton let me book a guest for his show, and he didn't yell at me. I mean, imagine that. He is a man of the people, but another man of the people, Wes Bryant from the ACC Digital Network. The only person who has better sneakers on than him is Coach Mac Brown. So we'll talk with the former Wake Forest offensive lineman at about 4:30 today. So looking forward to Wes joining us, and we'll get some of his ideas on what he thinks as far as the Coastal Division. I think after Miami, and we mentioned Pitt a little bit there, and in addition to North Carolina, I think there's kind of a drop-off after that, after those three teams. I mean, I'd take those three against the field there, wouldn't you?
Oh, yeah, I think so. I'd be almost willing to take North Carolina and Miami. I think Pitt's got a real chance, in some respects because of Coach Narduzzi. But kind of like I said earlier, you gotta have the horses to go. And starting quarterbacks stir the drink in this league, and Sam Howell and Derek King. As long as King stays healthy this year and Howell stays healthy, obviously Howell's, by most, like, some people are going to believe that DJ Uiagalelei, Rob, is perhaps the best quarterback in the league. But for the most part, the general consensus is that it's still Sam Howell's to lose. You know what I mean? And so if you got a top-tier quarterback, you really got a chance to do that. And certainly Miami and North Carolina both do.
You mentioned De'Aaron King, though. When you see him, he just, I know this sounds silly, but he seems smaller to me, which is kind of funny.
As my buddy Mark Ryan grabs a little
Mark Ryan coming over here getting some of
Germex.
our Germex here to sanitize himself. Thanks for joining the show there for a moment, Mark. Anyway, but no, I mean, De'Aaron King, when he walked through earlier, I mean, he looks like, a star athlete, but as he walks right by us right now, there's De'Aaron King. As what color would you say that suit is, Swanee? That's a good question. It's like a
is that taupe?
Taupe?
I don't know my colors.
It's not I don't want to call it pink, but it's not pink. But yeah. So as Coach Narduzzi is walking past us here, wearing a nice plaid suit, I feel like we're doing the fashion awards, man.
Well, listen. I told him he's the smartest guy in the room right now. And that was with Coach Cutcliffe in the room. I felt bad saying it, but
Coach Cutcliffe's like the librarian.
He's over there.
He's over there too. Anyway, if you want, we're going to talk about our picks later on as far as the Coastal Division. We'll get into that. And Wes Bryant joining us tomorrow. Slam pack full of interviews. We're going to have everyone from, of course,
James
the Clemson
Skalski.
contingent. Yeah.
Bockhorse.
Yep.
Dude.
Yeah.
I mean, it's going to be a lot of fun.
Yeah, tomorrow's going to be great. Justin online says North Carolina is going 10-2. Yeah, that might be right. You never know. But lots of love here today for the Tar Heels. All right, so we're wrapping up our segment of the rundown here. Of course, we'll be back with Clemson Sports Talk here in just a little bit as we keep it moving here at ACC Kickoff in Charlotte. We appreciate the conference having us up here. And, of course, Mateo Durant from Duke joining us live on the program, talking about everything from pass blocking to just about everything else. All right, quick break. When we return, we'll have more for you here on Fox Sports Radio 1400. All right, y'all.
So,
yep.
On those, the bumpers to the beginning of the show don't have the fade to go.
Let it play out?
That one just goes hot. The other ones have it. And sometimes if you don't hit them, for whatever reason, it doesn't work right. So you're going to have to.
Okay. For you folks over there asking about everyone giving me grief, Lawton Swan's son, by the way, had a nice Giannis jersey on the other day. Lawton sent me a picture, and it broke my heart. It broke my heart. Yeah, my beard is kind of thickening up here. I don't know what you're talking about, RR. I don't know what you're talking about. For those that have been following the show, you'll appreciate the fact that my weightlifting singlet has come in. And when I get back to Columbia, I will be putting that on. You know about the weightlifting singlet, right? Swanee. No, brother. I'm doing the weightlifting contest coming up in August 15th. And I'm gonna deadlift 600 pounds. It's gonna be great. Swanee's over there laughing at me, but it's true. We're gonna be it's gonna be rock solid. No, because all of our eggs went into the basket for tomorrow. I mean, we've got 4 coaches tomorrow. I mean, as long as
Halfley Babers,
Halfley Babers.
I'm
We had one more too, didn't we? I can't remember. Yeah, I don't look right without my hat. Oh. Whoops. Mill's helping me out here. All right, so nothing, just making sure we're squared away. Anyway, appreciate you guys. All right, Swanee, we got 40 seconds until we come back to your thing. So until the intro starts, yeah. Hey, you guys are awesome over there. Eat a few more cookies. Yeah, I'm deadlifting 600 pounds. It's gonna happen. I did last night. I did 405 15 times last night, Swan. So the 600 pounds is probably gonna happen. I'm trying, brother. It's gonna be hard. So there's that. Hold on, we got just a second. I'll tell you when. All right, yeah, it started. So you got 35 seconds left in your opener there. All right, so I need to send.
Finally, Clemson Sports Talk. Clemson has come back. Clemson has come back. The ACC. The ACC. Hello, everybody. Lawton Swan back in the saddle once again. It is the show that shakes the Southland. Clemson Sports Talk for you each and every afternoon as you make your way around the great state of South Carolina and beyond, listening to us on incredible radio stations like Fox Sports Radio 1400, the Midlands, around the world on the iHeartRadio app. My buddy, host of the Rundown, 3 until 4 o'clock, leading into the show that shakes the Southland. Mr. Rob Sanders is in the house. Rob, what's up, buddy?
I'm looking for my 4th year in a row that I will have the my annual Swanee Award. I mean, I've got my fingers crossed. I've done my work. Hopefully, I'll be best lead-in show again. I'm hoping that's going to happen.
Listen, at this point, yes, you are well on your way.
Oh, I get awarded early. I'm so happy about that.
You are well on your way, brother. But, today is such a unique day because I think for all of us to get a chance to sit down with coaches and players and media members and, people from the ACC network, people from other parts of the conference that maybe see the league a little bit different. We talk about a paradigm shift and really in the Coastal Division, and you and I touched on this on your program. It's still, hey, who's gonna find a way to rise up? Who's going to be a team to potentially challenge Clemson? And is there a legitimate contender in this half of the league? And, I don't know what the decision, like who makes the decision on what division goes first here.
Right.
But when Clemson used to go first, when the Atlantic Division went first, I should say, and Clemson was a part of that day, dude, the second day felt like the air had been sucked out of the room, right?
Right.
Now we've got it where Clemson is showing up on day 2, and it feels like we're building up towards the Tigers.
Well, they started with Mac Brown this morning. I mean, right after the commissioner, Mac Brown comes out, and it just seemed like, yeah, I mean, you mentioned the kind of the air goes out of the room when Clemson's not here, but it did seem like on Coastal Day, which is what today is, that it was almost like a breath of fresh air in here with, maybe maybe there's some folks in the Coastal think they've got an opportunity when they play down the road in Charlotte in December.
Well, I think there's a lot of hope for this team or for this league, and certainly some of these teams, specifically North Carolina and Miami. And, I think as far as where we are as analysts and taking a look at it, I really believe that those two, North Carolina and Miami, are probably top of the mark. And then after that, it's really all bets are off. And if it's Pitt, if they could climb up in there, or anybody else, you kind of mentioned this on your show, there seems to be this gap that if I had to bank on it and I had to say, hey, Team X, Team Y is going to be there, I would think it's probably either North Carolina or Miami battling Clemson right here in Charlotte in December.
Yeah, and, it wouldn't be that far-fetched. It really, really wouldn't. So I'm looking forward to that matchup, whatever way that we go.
Yeah, I think your laptop's playing the audio out. I'm hearing an echo on your laptop
so.
here.
I think you're hearing it on my phone here.
I tried to. Yeah. I've got a little.
Just mute that there.
Is that better?
Yeah,
I'm like I hear. I feel like I hear myself.
Yeah, it's my fault, brother. Things are silly.
Anyway,
I think that, and I think that's what's better for the conference, having a conference championship game where, the last conference championship game you and I went to was 2 years ago, and Clemson hammered Virginia. And then, of course, it just seems like if that game were just a little more competitive, it would be better for the conference as a whole.
Well, and last season you had Notre Dame ranked number 2 in the country,
right,
and you had Clemson number 3. And Rob, I think you'll remember the last time we were here, I've always posed the question, why isn't Notre Dame here? I mean, they play 5 or 6 of these teams each and every season. Last year had an ACC kickoff, they would have been here because they were a part of this league for a singular season. And I think that it's healthy to have Notre Dame in this venue because of the recognition that they bring you, the fact that they pull in the Chicago market. I mean, there are a lot of positives to having the Notre Dame Fighting Irish in attendance here in some respect, in my opinion.
Yeah, but as Coach Johnson said, the big thing though is that they're not in the conference. Remember, he was on with us a while back, and that was kind of the big thing there is that he was, hey, Notre Dame is not in the conference, so why should they come to kickoff there?
Well, yeah, that's the thoughts of it. It's this speaker. Take your headphones off. It's that speaker right there.
Yeah.
So, the other thing, too, that's kind of changed the game, Rob, is Sam Howell was talking about this, the NILs. The NILs and the fact that, here's a circumstance where these players can benefit from their name, image, and likeness. You've got Nick Saban saying that his quarterback, Bryce Young, is making, 7 figures already potentially from this in less than a month. You're talking about a kid making millions of dollars. And Sam Howell said today that he had hired a marketing team to kind of do that work on his behalf. And I got to imagine, there's a whole nother venue out there for people to make money by being so I go to player X, player Y, and I say, hey, buddy, look, let me represent you. I'll take 10% and I'll sell it. And if we make $1 million and I get 100,000, dude, there's a whole new revenue stream for a lot of people out there with what's going on with the new NIL.
Well, but you also have to think about it from this perspective, too, and we're talking about Notre Dame for a moment. Folks online, James says either they join in football or they're out in all sports. I think the ACC they could have had Notre Dame over the barrel last season.
Sure.
And they could have said, you know what? That's what we're going to do here. We're not going to schedule any non-conference games, and may have forced Notre Dame's hand. And I don't wonder why the conference didn't do that.
That's a great question. And you wonder when the next contract comes up if they won't really press on them a little bit to say, hey, man, you never know. But, Notre Dame, I think they had $15 million from their television rights that came in, and they gave $14 million of it away to the schools. I think every school in the ACC got an equal split of Notre Dame's television market share this past year.
Right.
And in a year where COVID-19 is ravaging the country and potentially knocking off games, and I don't have that number specifically in front of me, but I believe that was what it was from a year ago. it's hard not to say they didn't already kind of pay their fair share of, hey, we want a get out of jail free card or whatever. Here's $1 million to everybody in the league. And, I'm with you. You could have probably put it to them. You probably could have made them step in or not. That's where I've kind of always been on it. But I still think the marketing value of bringing in Notre Dame, heck, man, if you could get NBC to agree to play some of the ACC stuff on network TV or on the NBC Sports Network, there's so much value in that for the entire conference. So, take the SEC, for example, for a minute, right? Like if Alabama had a deal with the SEC similar to what Notre Dame does, say they weren't in the league, but they were going to play 5 teams, do you think it wouldn't be wise to say, well, why don't y'all come in and, do this thing with us? That's kind of always been my thing about Notre Dame. It's not about what you give up by having them here. It's what you get. And to me, you get the Midwest, you get national exposure. And I would argue that on the Coastal Division Day, you get conversations about, another team that may be competing for the college football playoff.
Yeah, but I think the gap is just so big there with between Clemson and the rest. And, you were talking about it earlier that
that's why I would like Notre Dame here, though, right?
Right.
I mean, Notre Dame's been in the college football playoff.
Let's just be honest here. I mean, I think Notre Dame is more on the level of North Carolina than they are on being at the level of Clemson.
Well, but nationally, they've been in the college football playoff more than any other teams outside of Clemson, Alabama, and Ohio State.
Yeah, but that's that. And
anybody else been in it?
You're spitting facts at me here, but I'm just saying that's sort of like, yeah, you're getting a steak dinner, but it's a very thin piece of steak.
The only other SEC team that's been in it, or 2 teams have been Georgia and LSU.
Yeah.
I mean, there's only a handful of teams. I think of the 28 teams in the college football playoff era, 21 of the bids, I think, have come to maybe the top 3 schools, Clemson, Ohio State, and Alabama. I'd have to check my numbers on that. But,
yeah.
I mean, they bring something, whether people want to agree with it or not, they bring something to the table. Part of it's Chicago, Illinois. Part of it's New York. And then the other part is, I mean, they're going to be one of the teams that has a chance by virtue of what their schedule is to possibly be in the college football playoff. Anybody else up there going to be in the college football playoff? Not named Clemson.
But on that front, though, I just maybe I'm just in the camp that I don't see Notre Dame as being where Clemson is. And I know that they beat Clemson last year, but there was a lot of things that went into that game. And but I don't see them on the same level as I guess I would put Notre Dame on the level with Georgia. They're that second tier of teams. You've got Alabama, Ohio State, Clemson up at the top. And then after that, I think then you go with maybe a Georgia and then maybe a Notre Dame.
Well, and I think that's probably the argument for why the college football playoff should expand. And that comes down to you and I shouldn't be able to sit here today and project who we think are the 4 teams that are going to be in the playoffs and feel good about it.
No.
But I think we do feel pretty good about saying probably Clemson, probably Alabama, probably Ohio State, and most likely Oklahoma would be the 4. If I said, let's do that in the NFL, who's going to be in the Final 4? We got no idea. And part of the reason we got no idea is because they have a bigger playoff. And you could project who you think are the top teams. I could think Tampa Bay is going to get the Final 4 this year in the NFL, but I don't know it because of the competition and the larger playoff. So,
but the NFL has parity too. I mean, you can go from being a 6-win team, a 7-win team to the Super Bowl. I mean, the year before the Bucs, I think they were 7-9. Jameis Winston threw 30 interceptions and 30 touchdown passes. They went from that to the Super Bowl in one season. So you can do that in the NFL, but I mean, it's just a different arena when it comes to college.
Yeah, the NFL is built for parity. The worst team gets the first pick and the best team gets the worst pick. Alabama gets more 5 stars. Clemson gets more 5 stars. So the rich get richer in college. In pros, you got a little bit of a different battle. I'm looking here at Sporting News' preseason top 25, though. Notre Dame's sitting there at number 6. I mean, top 10 team. The only teams ahead of them, Alabama, Clemson, Ohio State, Oklahoma. The 4 teams we said might be in the playoff. Georgia, who Clemson plays right here in Charlotte, North Carolina
I know,
on
right?
September the 4th. And then, by the way, with game day here, and then Notre Dame at 6, just ahead of Texas A&M. So I think the other interesting thing, outside of the ACC kickoff, Rob, might be that team I just mentioned, Texas A&M. They had a good season last year. They obviously spent $75 million to bring in Jimbo Fisher to win games and to beat Alabama.
Money's not an issue to Texas A&M. So
but they want to beat Alabama. And
so does everybody else.
They're starting in the top 10. And rest assured, they were a team that was arguing, remember last year,
right?
They were arguing at the end of the season that they should be in Notre Dame's spot in the college football playoff. They were just on the outside looking in.
Didn't they lose by 4 touchdowns to Alabama? I mean,
Notre Dame didn't have the best showing against Alabama either.
Well, but no one had a good showing against Alabama.
No, that's true. But I guess the broader point being, here was a team that wanted to be in the college football playoff. They weren't. They've got a coach who led his team to a national championship at Florida State and into the college football playoff at Florida State before bolting to go to College Station. And now there they are sitting there as the second highest ranked team in the Western Division of the SEC. And I guarantee you when the numbers come out of, I don't think it's been released yet, what the preseason media poll is, they will not be second in the preseason media poll in the SEC West.
Well, yeah, because let's be honest, LSU's a better team. So
possible.
If you're telling me to put my money behind one horse in the West after Alabama, I'm going with LSU. They've got 2 All-American defensive backs. Miles Brennan's the quarterback people are going to be talking about for a while. LSU has a lot of the tools that can make them very successful, and I also think that with Texas A&M, they're going to have some issues on the front of they're going to miss Kellen Mond more than they're talking about. And, there's some other issues.
Solid at running back, Isaiah Spiller. I like him. I will say this, too, though, and I heard a conversation about Ed Orgeron. Gene Chizik won a national title at Auburn and then had a couple of bad seasons. They fired him. While Ed Orgeron 2 years ago was one of the great stories maybe in college football when they knocked off Clemson and made that run and it did everything they did. If they have a surprisingly disappointing season this year, is he all of a sudden gone from?
Well, I think that the Title IX stuff that he's having to deal with, and with being named in that Title IX lawsuit, and that may get him more than
the results on the field.
Else. Well, but you got to remember they got a new athletic director, and you got to wonder. One of the first things this new athletic director has to deal with is the Title IX thing, and he didn't hire Orgeron, but Orgeron came in with that winning that national title and beating up a Clemson team in that national championship game, and some people say that's one of the best teams in college football.
15-0.
But after that, they go 5-5. My favorite Ed Orgeron thing was he said he didn't interview his defensive assistants for last year.
Right.
So it's like, wait a minute. You know what I mean?
Somebody said it takes 3 months to learn what he sounds like on the headset.
We're not going to mock.
Go Tigers.
We're not going to mock.
Go Tigers.
Any of that. Shout out to our buddy Dennis Wilson online says, "Ain't no money like Texas oil money." He's right. So you got to deal with that when it comes to the whole thing with Texas A&M. But I think they'll finish third in the SEC West. I really do.
They might finish fourth. They might finish fourth. I mean, look, there is no question that Alabama's still the cream of the crop in the SEC. Georgia and Clemson will set some tone this season for one of those two teams. And, and then whatever happens with the Big Ten and the Big 12, I think that's kind of where you're headed. And I don't know that that's great for college football that we can sit here today this far out and say that's probably the teams. And, I know the conversation, Dabo Swinney said they're not for it. He said that the team wasn't for an expansion. I know that Coach Mack Brown's not for it. And people will say it waters down the regular season. My argument to that front is on the back end of the year, who's heavily invested? The people watching or pulling for Clemson,
Right.
Alabama, the people pulling for, maybe Oklahoma and Ohio State. If you had a 12-team playoff, there are a lot of games in the final 2 weeks of the season from coast to coast that are going to mean something to somebody. If you're 15 and you're playing, heck, a couple upsets in front of you, win the games you got on the docket, boom goes the dynamite, you're in the 12-team playoff. To me, that investment from more fans, people in Iowa, people wherever, dude, that's a big deal. I think it's a huge deal.
Yeah, I mean that makes a lot of sense. I'm buying
You know what I'm
it.
saying?
Yeah. The more and more I hear it, I'm like, all right.
Like I get it. You don't want to have a two-loss team win the national championship, but nobody says the New York Giant team that knocked off the undefeated Tom Brady team didn't deserve winning the Super Bowl. Has anybody said to you that Eli Manning's Super Bowls shouldn't count? I mean, it's just one of those things, man. So again, I just think that when we look at this league right now, it's obviously Clemson. And if Notre Dame's here, you bring in a team that's competing. If the college football playoff expanded, it's a different story because maybe North Carolina or Miami could be a playoff team, and we could say, hey, Coach, you guys have a possibility of making it into the college football playoff, so on and so forth, Rob. So I know we got a break coming up. Your buddy, my buddy, Wes Bryant from the ACC Digital Network is going to be joining us in just a little bit here at the ACC Kickoff. Wes, he hits us up in the email account about 17 times a week with some kind of digital highlight reel and, digs back into the ACC's archive. So that's really cool. So we had a quick break here on Clemson Sports Talk. We'll come back for Rob Sanders, Lawton Swan. Stay with us.
All right, you guys are awesome over there. Appreciate y'all. Oh, goodness, man. I don't want to take away the picture here because you guys seem to be enamored with the young lady here. You guys are hilarious, man, with all that. How long are your breaks, Swanee?
4 minutes.
4 minutes. Well, she's on the air right now, Shane Beamer. So I'd feel a little awkward giving her your number, but yeah. That's funny. Hilarious. Oh, goodness. Oof. SEC picks will be announced, I think, Friday. ACC team announced Monday. I don't know. She's on the ACC network. I'm not sure who she is. We can nickname her Miss Beamer if you want. They're enamored with the young lady behind us.
Kelsey Riggs, I think.
Is it Kelsey Higgins? Kelsey Higgins? We'll find out who it is. Kelsey Riggs? It's Kelsey Riggs, former soccer player. Kelsey Riggs, that's who it is. All right, 2 minutes left there, Swanee.
I mean, 2.
Yeah, he's supposed to join us at 4:20 or 4:30, so.
That'll be a break. 4:32 is a break.
Mm-hmm.
It'll be 4:36.
Yeah. Oh, I need some more. Kelsey Riggs. Everyone write it down. They're all enamored with her. Hilarious. Fireball says she's married. Okay, terrific. Fireball says she's married. Okay, I didn't know that. Kelsey Riggs is married. Not my thing, but okay. What? Oh, you thought you had a shot? That's hilarious.
No, I'm saying those guys watch it.
Yeah. Oh, goodness. I'm tired. I guess Tyler's in there enjoying himself. Swanee, 40 seconds.
Remember, you gotta hit fade and go.
Hit fade and go. There's a fade and go right there.
Yeah, you have to hit play on it. It doesn't go.
Okay.
And it doesn't fade and go. Minor.
Are you ready? So you hit fade now.
Back at it here at the ACC kickoff log. Swan drops in. The crowd taking out with us today. Of course, he hosted running out 3 or 4 o'clock. Saturday afternoon on Fox Sports Radio. It is the Coast
Day, and again, we've had some great conversations with not only players and coaches and media members, but looking forward to tomorrow, hopefully, in addition to getting up with all of the Clemson contingent. Hopefully going to hook up with Dabo Swinney. Looking forward to maybe even getting Eric McLean on the program, Wes Durham. I saw Ivan Mazel over here. He's from the new On 3 network. Got to get hooked up with Ivan and try to get more and more content for you guys to drive you right on through into the college football season. Just some news that came out a few minutes ago. The ACC network unveiled plans for an exclusive October football games, preseason ACC football road trip, and We're Number One, the story of the 1990 ACC football documentary. Boston College at Clemson on October 2nd, Notre Dame at Virginia on October the 9th. Games will air exclusively on the ACC network. The ACC network will travel to all 14 ACC football campuses for first ever preseason football tour, August the 4th through the 27th. And then that We're Number One, the story of the 1990 ACC football season will debut in October. So lots going on with the ACC, and they've got road trip dates for all you Tiger fans out there who want to know. Friday, October the 27th. I guess you say they saved the best for last, Rob, on the ACC network at 7 o'clock. That will be taking place. So, again, just one of those things. You mentioned it earlier, Commissioner Phillips, or you mentioned it on your show, Commissioner Phillips talking about, taking the Atlantic Coast Conference football and being a little bit more focused and pushing that towards the forefront. And again,
I can play the comment. I mean, he said point blank, football now has to be
fire it.
Number one, 24/7, 365.
Fire away.
As I've stated since my first day as ACC commissioner, football must be number one priority for us, for all of us. Our schools, the league, ACC network, our partners, coaches. We've been collaborating for months to ensure that ACC football has the mindset of 24/7, 365. And we're working together to further elevate football in the ACC.
There you go.
Man, I tell you, it's convincing that he's Clemson fans always had a bad taste in their mouth about John Swofford because of some things that people alleged had gone on back during, Clemson's probationary period where the ACC punished them an extra year after the 81 national championship. And Swofford, I think, was the commissioner at North Carolina, and people believe that he kind of led that. And there was always some animosity towards him on that front. But you hear Commissioner Jim Phillips, not the legendary voice of the Clemson Tigers, Jim Phillips, who, of course, I still think should be in the Ring of Honor in Tiger Town. But now Commissioner Jim Phillips of the ACC, again, talking about football being at the forefront. And, Rob, I think you have to wonder. I'm not saying that wouldn't be the conversation today, if Clemson hadn't had this incredible run. But, what if the ACC was a little bit more like the Pac-12, where it's like, well, is somebody going to step up, get into the college football playoff? Is there going to be a team that's good enough to compete? Yada, yada, yada. Is that the conversation today? Or is that conversation built up by the track record of success that Clemson's put forth with their 6 consecutive trips to the college football playoff, the fact that they've been inside the top 5 for heaven knows how many consecutive weeks. I can't think of the last time Clemson was outside of the top 10.
Right.
I mean, so it's kind of funny when you say that, when you've spent a portion of your life sort of on the outside looking in and hoping to get back on top. And now you've got this run where if I said, Rob, when was Clemson last ranked outside the top 10? Dude, do you have any?
Outside of the top 10, I would have to say
early 2015.
Yeah, we'd have to research that, but yeah, I mean it really would be something to think about. But I was talking with my friend from Tar Heel Illustrated, Andrew Jones, and we were talking about, it seems like Clemson now is how Florida State was when they joined the ACC. I mean, does that make sense?
Yes.
I mean, that's a very interesting way to look at it. Now, in his mind, though, he said when Florida State joined, you got to remember, Georgia Tech was coming off splitting a national title. Virginia was ranked number 1 the previous year. I mean, so there were some good teams that were there, but Florida State came in and just laid the law down. And that's kind of where Clemson is now. And everybody was trying to get to where Florida State was. And now Clemson is where Florida State was. And everybody's trying to get to where Clemson is now.
Yeah, look, there's no doubt about it. A couple of weeks ago, I ran the numbers on Bowden and Sweeney just to see. Bowden in 18 seasons at Florida State went 173-53. That's a winning percentage of 76.5%.
That's solid. That's pretty
Sweeney's
good.
140-32. That's 81%. That's 5 percentage points better than Bobby Bowden. Both of them went to. I looked at the numbers. Bobby Bowden took Florida State, I think, to what we would call, if you talked about college football playoff bowl games, the 6 Power Bowls during that stretch. I think he took them to 12. Sweeney in 12 years is because of the way it's set up now, where you can get 2 a season. Sweeney's already hit 12. The run of success that Florida State had from 92 to 2009 or whenever Bowden finally walked out of the door. I mean, they were incredible, man. I mean, they were incredible, and even before they came into the league was when they had – and that's just talking about their time in the ACC, by the way.
Right.
Even before he came in, I mean, they had 15 consecutive seasons finishing ranked inside the top 5.
That's impressive, too.
And they weren't playing slouches either. They were playing Miami when they were at the top of their game. They were playing Florida when the Gators were good with Steve Spurrier. I mean, and they even spent some time when they were inside the league, they were independent. So, it's incredible when you think about the run that all of these, that Clemson's put together and that Bobby Bowden put together at Florida State, and the connection that it was Bobby's son, Tommy, who thought, you know what, I think Dabo Sweeney could get the JOBDONE, the job done in Tiger Town. So we're going to hit a quick break here on the show that shakes the Southland. You can follow Rob on Twitter, by the way, at Rob Sounds Good. You can follow me on Twitter at Clemson Sports. Stay with us.
All right, guys. I am going to be done for today. We're going to get set up to. You guys are great. Yep. We'll keep about there for a minute, but we'll stay through this segment. Hold on. Yeah, I think she's done with her coverage for today. But anyway, so Appreciate you guys. We'll be on with Kale tonight, doing the Rob and Kale show. Thanks to Dennis Vosen for DNC Trucking and Transport sponsoring the trip up here. We appreciate Dennis. Of course, Dennis over there doing his thing as usual. But thank you guys for joining us at ACC Kickoff, and we will see you tonight for a new Rob and Kale show. Thanks, man.